Hey guys, in this lesson we're looking at what happens whenever you have two lines and a transversal. It creates a whole bunch of different angle pair relationships. The first word we'll start with is transversal. Transversal is a line that passes through two lines at two different points. Now this can be two or more lines at two or more different points, but for what we're going to do, the majority of the time, there's only going to be two lines. So what that's going to look like is, well, you have one line, you have another line, and then you've got a transversal. This right here, that line right there, that's our transversal. And a lot of times you'll see these lines named M, N, and this one is usually T for transversal. So this one right there is the transversal. Along with this vocabulary, they're going to talk about interior angles. Interior angles are just, if you look here, you see inter for inside. They're angles that are inside of the two lines. So if we look at this picture right here, everything in there is considered to be interior between those two lines. So if we're going to just talk about interior angles in general, we're looking at angle 3, angle 4, angle 5, and angle 6. All four of those are going to be interior angles. The other type of angles that we could talk about are exterior angles. And exterior angles are just angles that are outside of those two lines. So there's one line, there's the other line. So that there and everything above is going to be outside. And then here and everywhere below is going to be considered outside. So if we want to list our exterior angles, we're looking at angle 1 and angle 2 and angle 7 and angle 8. Also with these, they're going to talk about alternate. Alternate are angles that are on different or opposite sides of the transversal. So if we look at the picture that we have there, there's one of the lines, there's the other line, and then here's our transversal. So if we're looking for angles that are on opposite sides of the transversal, that would like be being compared angle 1 and angle 6 are on opposite sides of the transversal. Let's go with angle 8. Angle 1 and angle 8 are on opposite sides of the transversal. You could also go angle 4 and angle 5 are on alternate sides of that transversal. They're also going to talk about angles that are consecutive. So with consecutive, these are angles that are on the same side of the transversal, kind of like one right after the other. So there's our two lines right there. Here's our transversal because it's a line that crosses two lines at two separate points. For example, we could talk about angle 3 and angle 5. They would both be considered consecutive. They're on that left side of the transversal. If we want to look at on the right side of the transversal, we could talk about angle 4 and angle 6. Okay, so all this vocabulary that we've talked about so far are alternate, are consecutive, the exterior and interior and transversal. That's kind of all vocabulary that's setting you up for the big important angle pairs. So right here is where all the big important vocabulary that you're going to need for this section starts. The first one we have is corresponding angles. When you've got corresponding angles, they are a pair of angles that are on the same side of the transversal, and one is interior and the other is exterior of the two lines. So there's a lot going on there. So let's break it down with that new vocabulary and show what we've got. So it's a pair of angles. Well, that means I need to have angle blank and angle blank in my answer because it says pair. Pair means two. So we're looking for a pair of answers that are on the same side of the transversal. So that means we have to find the transversal. Transversal is the line that crosses through the other lines. So right there, that's going to be our transversal. One of those angles is going to be on the interior. So that means it could be any of those angles right there. And one of the angles is on the exterior. So we're looking there to there. So if we do that, let's say we do angle 1. It's on an exterior. So I need to find an angle that is on the same side of the transversal, one inside, one outside. And when you're looking at these, they're basically in the same spot. So angle 1 is to the left of the transversal and above the line. And if you look at angle 5, that's also to the left of the transversal and above that line. So angle 1 and angle 5 are considered corresponding angles. There's other sets of corresponding angles that we have on there. Let's look at angle 2. If we look at angle 2 is to the right of the transversal and above the line. So we need to find another angle that's also to the right of the transversal and above the line. To the right of the transversal, above the line. So angle 2 and angle 6 are both considered corresponding angles. So we haven't talked about angle 3. Angle 3 is to the left of the transversal and below the line. So looking to the left of the transversal, below the line, that gives us angle 7. And then just to double check, remember it says interior, one is interior and one is exterior. Angle 3 is interior, angle 7 is exterior, and they're on the same side of the transversal, so we're doing okay. The last pair that we have on there is angle 4. Angle 4 is to the right side of the transversal and below the line. So if we're looking for an angle that's to the right side of the transversal and below the line, we have angle 8. So those are our pairs of corresponding angles for this picture. Okay. Looking at another one, alternate interior angles. Given two lines in a transversal, they are a pair of angles that are on opposite sides of the transversal and inside the two lines. So it tells us we've got a transversal. So if I find the transversal, there's the transversal that goes through the two lines. Two lines, two lines. There's the first one, there's the second one. So we need a pair of angles that are on opposite sides of the transversal, the inside. So inside, if you remember, is all in there. So alternate, remember we talked about it above, they're on opposite sides, so there's our opposite sides we talked about. So if we're looking, well, everything has to be inside, so that means we've got to match up the ones that are in the inside. So one of the angles that's on the inside is angle 3. And we're looking for opposite sides of the transversal. So angle 3 is on the left side of the transversal, so we need one that's on the right side. And with these don't touch. We've already talked about all kinds of different angles that touch, linear pairs, supplementary, adjacent, those types of things. So we're looking for things, like if we were to pick 4, 4 would be a linear pair. We already have plenty of vocabulary and rules to go with that. So when you're looking at these alternate interior angles, it's a new separate idea. So whenever you're looking at alternate interior angles, or any of these angles that we're going to talk about in this lesson, they are never going to touch each other. So we're looking at 3 and 6. Those are alternate interior angles. They alternate, they're on opposite sides of that transversal, and they're on the inside between those parallel lines. So the other two angles we haven't talked about, we've got angle 4 is on the inside, and if we go on the opposite side not touching, we've got angle 5. So there are alternate interior angles.